Hello, in this video I will guide you through the first step of the simulation, the international market selection. At this stage, your company has already pre-selected 40 countries as potential markets for international expansion. Your primary task is to narrow down this list and ultimately select one country to initiate your operations. The results of your operations assumes a 3 years of operation in the selected market, meaning that we are going to operate during 2024 up to 2026. The first step in this stage is to do the preliminary screening. The objective of this substep is to reduce the list from 40 countries to just 4. The reduction is necessary because analyzing all the 40 countries in detail would be time-consuming and inefficient. To do this, you use the Preliminary Screening tab in the Excel file, applying specific filters to narrow down the selection. To work with, we can go in this Preliminary Screening tab, and here we have some important variables to check. First, we have here GDP per capita, and a higher GDP indicates a larger and potentially more stable economy, which can provide a stronger consumer base and investment climate. Population, a larger population can represent a broad customer base, increasing marketing potential for your business. GDP per capita, this metric helps assess the average income level and the purchasing power of the population, which is critical for evaluating demand and for your products or service. Tax rates. Lower corporate and trade tariffs can make market entry more financially viable and improve profitability since you're going to pay taxes in the simulation. The cage distance. Markets with lower cage distance often require fewer adaptation efforts and lower operational risk for your business. And finally, for Hotmart, language is highly important. The official and widely spoken languages in a country can impact the availability of content and producers in the target market. Countries with linguistic similarities, as such, that speaks English, Portuguese, or Spanish may reduce the adaptation costs and also represents that you can use your existing content to sell products in the new market. So you don't need to have new producers of content to enter and to succeed. So you need to define what are the important factors and what criteria are you going to choose to define to select the market to your operation. To do that, you can use the filtering function to set thresholds for each variable. For instance, let's say that we're going to select only countries with 10 million because we believe that 10 million is the minimum to be profitable in the region. So you can select here in the tab population with the left button, and then you click here in number filters, greater than or equal to, and then type 10. With that, now it's selected only countries with at least 10 million people living there. The second characteristic, let's say that you also believe that GDP per capita is relevant, and let's say that only countries with more than $5,000 of GDP per capita make sense according to your strategic reasoning. So you apply the filter as well. So let's say greater than or equal than 5,000. And now I have here the other countries. Let's say as well that I don't want to pay a lot of taxes, so I'm going to include in my list only countries with at most $20% of corporate tax. So I'll select here number filters less than or equal than 0.2. Now I'm reducing my list, and finally I'm going to select only countries that speak English. So for instance, I'm going to go here. I just have one country left, but just to avoid any other issue, let's think about eliminating here some countries with more than 10,000 miles in terms of cage distance, countries that are really different from yours. So I'm going to select the ones with less than or equal than 10,000. Indeed, now I have only 2 countries left for my analysis. Let's say that I want to be a little bit more inclusive and add, for instance, countries with these 4 countries that are more similar here in terms of cultural distance. So with my analysis, now I just have 4 countries left: Canada, Germany, Poland, and Russian Federation. We'll do the next step based on this analysis. Now that you have narrowed your selection to 4 countries, it's time for a more detailed evaluation. This stage requires a qualitative assessment based on the 3 key dimensions: market attractiveness, taxation level, and cage distance. To proceed with this step, open the Fine-Grained Screening tab in the Excel file. Let's now move to the Fine-Grained Screening and define the countries that we selected. So I'm going to here in the Fine-Grained Screening, and I'm going to select 4 countries: Canada, Germany, Poland, and Russia. Okay, now I have detailed data from these 4 countries, and what is the idea? It's to assign, based on this data, assign a level of importance of these 2 factors, so attractiveness, taxation levels, and cage distance. The higher the importance, the higher will be the weight of this factor when you're making your choice. Let's say that for me, market attractiveness is the most important one, taxation level is not so important, and cage distance is important. Then I need to check these 4 countries and give a grade between 0 and 10 to each of these criteria to define what is really relevant. For instance, for Canada, when you look here to the size of population and GDP per capita, it's probably something in the middle, so I'll put like a 6 for Canada. It's not that we don't have a lot of people living there and GDP per capita is relatively good. When you look here to Germany, let's put like an 8 for Germany, and this can be because they have more people living and a similar GDP per capita. To Poland, probably I'm going to put like a 4, and 4 means that we have here a population that is not so big as well and a lower GDP per capita. And finally, Russia, since we have a lot of people living there, and I believe that people is more important than just GDP per capita, let's say that I put here a 7, okay? Now it's time to check the taxation levels. So taxation levels are not that high for both countries. They are quite similar, but I think that I'm going to select here as being attractive Canada and Germany. And here is the important thing: the higher the taxation level, the lower should be your grades. So this means that, for instance, here I may put like a 6 and 6 for Germany. We have a little bit more higher taxes in Poland, so put like a 4. And here we have lower taxes in Russia, so put like a 3. And now it's time to talk about cage distance and the effect of language as well. So here we have official language English in Canada, and the cage distance is lower, so it means that I may use a really good and attractive number here. So probably put here a 9 for it. And here we have a longer distance, cage distance, and they don't speak the same language. So maybe you put like a 4 and 3 and 2 because we have high level of cage distance. With this score, the final country that I should select is the one with the high score. In my case, I should select Canada for my analysis.